welcome to this week's episode of Telling the Tale. I'm your host, Mitchell Farley-Wolf, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Dustin Jackson. And we're here today to discuss Sam and Max Beyond Time and Space, which is Season 2, Episode 204, Chariots of the Dogs, originally released on the 13th of March in the year 2008. It is the fourth and penultimate episode of this season. Also, hello, Dustin. How are you?
I'm doing great. I don't have any sort of joke to make up about this episode's theme this week.
Yeah, I was... Oh, really? I was expecting one. But,
well...
I guess commenting on what you've done other times sort of
maybe
ties
I'll
into
have
this
to. Maybe
theme.
I'll have to go back into the past to think of one.
All right. Dustin, did you like how I just did that opening? I really threw it around. I did a bunch of different stuff at once.
You're really mixing things up. It's almost like there's some sort of time anomaly that put the episode credits before asking me how I'm doing.
Okay. I've had just about enough of that. I don't need any
See,
more
I
of that.
started with 0, and then I ended up with 2.
Well, Dustin, tell me how you feel about Jellystone.
Oh, that you threw me for a loop with that one.
Yeah, but I knew you wanted to talk about it. I felt the hairs prickling on the back of your neck.
I was really chomping at the
I gotta
bit.
tell Mitch about Jellystone.
I gotta get this out of me.
Yeah.
I like it so far. I've only watched the first 2 episodes with my roommates, who you know and are friends with.
Whoa, you're pacing yourself.
Yeah, we're gonna watch more. Well, I've just been busy. I had a very busy day yesterday. We're gonna watch more tonight, I think.
So you like it?
Yeah, it's great. I'm a big fan of the showrunner, C.H. Greenblatt. I've liked all his shows. He's made Chowder, Harvey Beaks. He's done a lot of work on Billy and Mandy and classic SpongeBob, so I'm a big fan of his. I actually met him back in the tail end of 2019.
How nice was he? Or how mean was he?
He was very nice. We ate sour candies together.
Ooh, those are good.
Yeah.
Would I like Jellystone?
I don't know. It doesn't really strike me as a Mitchell show, but, you know, it's free on HBO Max if you have it, so...
Alright.
It's worth a shot. I like it a lot. I think it's very funny and fun.
I think that I respect what it's doing, but I wouldn't personally go for it if I didn't know you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That means a lot. It's funny. I was actually thinking about this the other day. So we were talking about Scoob, and have been. You recently watched Scoob since the last episode.
Yeah, I watched Scoob because you talked to me about it, and the things that you said didn't make any sense to me. So I watched Scoob, and I was like, whoa, he was right about this movie is wild. This is a very strange movie.
Yeah, I guess thinking about it, it is interesting what they're doing with it. It's just what they do with it is not very interesting.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I did not like it.
It's not very good.
Yeah, I did not like Scoob. I
But
did not enjoy it.
It's so funny because when we were talking about it, I said one reason I don't like it is because they change a lot about the characters. Like, Dynomutt is a good example. The Dynomutt in this movie is nothing like the Dynomutt of the past. And at the time, I was like, you're not going to please Hanna-Barbera fans by changing it so drastically. But then Jellystone comes along, and the characters' personalities and various other things are so changed, and I'm fine with it here. So I guess it's less it being a problem in itself, it's just the way they did it is a problem. They changed Dynomutt and made him into a character that's not fun or entertaining, and Jellystone changes characters in ways that are fun and entertaining.
Well, can we talk about the potential for the fact, I don't know if this is true, I haven't checked the science, but there's a potential for the fact that of all the Hanna-Barbera stuff, only Flintstones and Scooby-Doo were, like, any good? There's a potential. I'm not saying it's true.
No-ish, because I'm probably not the right person to ask, because I like a lot of Hanna-Barbera stuff, but it's probably because they're not very good. I describe them as, like, charmingly shitty.
That doesn't mean you think it's bad.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think Flintstones and Scooby-Doo are that great.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Scooby-Doo, I respect a lot about it, but even as a kid, I was like, this show is not very interesting. It's very slow, but, like, it looks very nice. If you compare it to, like, other Hanna-Barbera shows, which are, like, super cheap, this does not rely on, like, super cheap animation gimmicks that often, not as much as their other shows, and, like, the backgrounds are nice, so there's some merit to Scooby-Doo. And Flintstones was the first animated sitcom, I guess, so...
Yeah, it's the prequel to The Simpsons.
Yeah. They're the Stone Age counterparts of The Simpsons.
I always thought of the Jetsons, The Simpsons, and the Flintstones mostly just because of what their names are, as the past, present, and future version of the same thing.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that, but I can see how you would make that connection. Yeah,
because you got Stone, and then you got Jets, and then the Simpsons are just simple.
Yeah.
It's in the middle.
It's like a nice little puzzle that all fits perfectly together.
Speaking of nice little puzzles that all fit perfectly together, yes! Good
also,
segue!
Speaking of the Jetsons, there's a Jetsons reference in this episode.
Yeah, speaking of just Jets and future and past.
And the Simpsons.
How's about Sam and Max Beyond Time and Space, episode 204, Chariots of the Dogs? Dustin, did you like this episode?
So, going into this episode, I remembered nothing about what happens in this episode. I completely forgot everything. And so I was very much looking forward to jumping into this episode and experiencing it again. And after playing it, I think it might be the best episode.
Whoa, okay. Because I remember really loving this episode. When you say best, do you mean like up till now, or do you think even including season 3?
Up till now. Not including season 3, but up until now.
Okay.
This episode's bananas. This episode's crazy all over the place. And I think it's so cool, like, how many little things, how many jokes are in this episode. This episode, the way I would describe it is, like, take episode 1 and 3 of this season, Ice Station Santa and Night of the Raving Dead. Compare those to Ocarina of Time for Legend of Zelda.
Okay.
How those are kind of more standard Sam and Max episodes. Kind of what you would expect, just kind of standard cases. They're very fun. They're very good to show someone what to expect from Sam and Max. I would consider Chariots of the Dogs the Majora's Mask in comparison, where it gets very weird and different. Not necessarily what you would use to rope someone into the series, because I think part of the appeal of it is just how different it is, just what you're doing in this episode compared to the rest of the series so far.
Yeah, I would... No, I was going to back you up on that metaphor, but it's so much that I need some time to digest it a little bit.
You need to process it a little bit.
The Zelda metaphor, that's kind of like a wild thing to say. That said, I like that you did it, and I love the energy that you're bringing to the podcast.
Thank you. That's why I'm here.
I agree that it's a really good episode. I think I remembered a little bit more. I knew there was time travel. I knew there was the spaceship. I remembered Bosco as a cow. That happens, by the way, folks. Bosco turns into a cow.
I completely forgot about the Bosco cow. As soon as I saw it, I was like, whoa!
I remembered the mariachis.
Mm-hmm.
I did not remember the elevator until I saw it. And then as soon as I saw the elevator, I was like, oh, the elevator.
Yeah, this elevator is going to be very important.
It's very important. I think the pacing of this episode... Okay, so here's what I'll say about this episode, and maybe this will fall into how you feel about Majora's Mask, but I still kind of don't understand how you feel about Majora's Mask, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think this episode, from a story and tonal and puzzle perspective is just like top marks. It's really, really great. There's so much lore going around that is fun to keep up with, and there's so many little in jokes and so many twists that are surprising and cool. But I also think that this episode is very claustrophobic in a way that I haven't considered the other episodes, even though they don't. This probably has more physical space to traverse, but because this episode has a hub world and then little levels coming out of it by the way of the time traveling elevator that you use, it sort of makes it feel a little bit like I just can't go anywhere. And I didn't love that as much. I wonder if you had that feeling at all going through it?
I get where you're coming from. I liked it personally. I think it helped mix things up. But again, I feel like it's only because I've been so used to the Sam and Max formula so far. I think it's a great way to mix things up and kind of keep things condensed. I kind of like that you can go to so many different time periods, but it's just one room of each time period. You're never, like, overwhelmed with all the different places you can go. Because just imagine if, like, every single time period had, like, multiple rooms you could go in. And, like, things you can miss.
That is true. Although I think most of them actually do. You have the Bosco store, you can go in the bathroom. Actually, never mind. Not most of them, but some of them do.
Yeah, but just imagine if there were more.
Ooh, I didn't think about if there were more. There's a lot of stuff in previous episodes that feels like it is absent here, and I like that. I like that they're experimenting even this late in the season. As far as I can tell, there was no plans to do a season 3 right after season 2. As far as I can tell, I think that Telltale was always thinking about it, as evidenced by the fact that it did come out. But season 2 was like just 7 months after season 1. It was an obvious conclusion. When season 1 came out, like when they were advertising season 1 before it came out, they called it season 1, which is... we've talked about that as Doug's first movie or Pokemon the first movie.
Very presumptuous of your success.
Yeah, it is presumptuous of their success, but unlike Doug, but like Pokemon, they were correct that there would be more. After season 2, though, we'll get into these games as we get to them, but they took a huge break to do... Strong Bad's Cool Game for Attractive People. They did Wallace and Gromit, The Grand Adventures. They did another, I think, 2 different CSI games.
Wow.
All of that before season 3 of Sam & Max. I think maybe... was Tales of Monkey Island before season 3?
Yes, it was right before season 3, and I remember that because once you beat Tales of Monkey Island, you get a teaser for season 3 of Sam & Max. You get a pirate flag with skull and crossbones of Max's head on it.
Cool. just cool. That's neat because every all of the older Monkey Island games also had Sam & Max crossovers in them. So that's
little references here and there. Sam & Max made cameos in like so many of those early LucasArts games.
Yeah, most of them before Sam & Max even had their own game. So that was cool. But yeah, they had so many other things going on before they got to season 3 of Sam & Max. So, you know, if this company suddenly went under a good, 8 years before it actually did, we would not have any more Sam & Max after just this next episode. So the fact that they're this deep into it and they're really experimenting hard with how the pacing and mechanics of an episode can work is cool. And it's sort of inspiring. It shows that they were never bored. They never seemed bored with, let's just put out another one. Except for maybe Moai. I know how to say it. Moai Better Blues, which we talked about 2 episodes ago.
That thought came to mind while I was playing this episode. Like, this episode just blew me away while playing it, and I was like, wow, just to think just 2 episodes ago we had Moai Better Blues.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess from an episodic series like this, there's always... Well, I don't know if always, because I don't know if we saw one in season 1, but there's always going to be, this is the hypothesis, one episode that is clearly worse than the rest. Like the others absorbed its nutrients in the womb.
Yeah. Well, in season 1, we had different answers for the worst episode, but we were still kind of generally in the same ballpark. We just kind of switched 2 and 3.
Well, season 1 also did have 6 episodes rather than 5, so
yeah,
maybe the fact that there's 2 episodes that felt malnourished makes sense in that way.
That makes sense.
Sure.
You got some good math skills on you.
Yeah. If you add 1 to a thing, it has 1 more thing in it. So
wow.
We've been talking a lot about how it's mechanically different. We should get into that and fully explain it. Sam and Max arrive in a spaceship. They herald it by making a model volcano explode in Bosco's store, which is apparently how you summon THEM.
Bosco was onto something the whole time. It turns out he was just right.
Yeah, and then you get beamed up like just any sort of UFO movie into a flying saucer where you find Bosco, who is transformed into a half cow, half man monstrosity, and you find an elevator which has some time cards in it, and if you can use these time cards to travel to a bunch of different people's birthdays, not necessarily the year that they were born, but one of the years in which they were alive on their birthday.
Yeah.
And you can, every time you meet a new character in the episode, you can scan them with a little carbon dater gun, and you can print out a new time card based on that person you scanned.
Yeah, you start out with just the one time card, which is Bosco's time card. So
and that is his actual birthday.
Yeah. You scan that, and it takes you back into the 60s, 1963, I think it was. And that's where you find the carbon dater on account of Bosco dropping it and freaking out and running away.
Yeah, because he saw his mom as a young jive, like 1960s woman.
Yeah,
that would freak me out.
I think that's fair. That's a fair reaction.
Yeah, if I saw my mom as a 1960s woman, I would freak out because she would be 4.
I think at that exact time, 1963, my mom would be 1 year old.
At 1963, my mom would be -3 years old.
That would be even freakier.
That would be freakier. That would get me. that would surprise me. And throughout the episode, you can get birthday cards for Sam and Max and Mama Bosco and Super Ball and the Soda Poppers and the creation of the universe is in there. Anything I'm forgetting? There's
that sounds about right. There's not like a whole ton of them. I think there's like 7 or 8.
Yeah, and there's some characters in the episode that definitely should have time cards, but they sort of make up excuses for them not having time cards because obviously it would be very difficult to make an episode that large where every one of them is a whole new room with interactions and characters and stuff to pick up and everything.
Yeah, it makes sense in some cases, like if you try to scan... There's so many different versions of Sam and Max in this episode. It only just hit me how many different versions of these two characters are in this one episode.
Yeah.
But you can only scan each of them once to get a time card.
Right, you only have one Max and one Sam time card because they have the same birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's some that don't make sense. Like Grandpa Stinky is there. You go to the 1980s and you find Grandpa Stinky before he was probably murdered by his granddaughter. And you find out that he just doesn't react to the carbon dater for some reason. He just doesn't. And they talk about it.
Fine.
It's fine. They talk about it in a way that implies like, oh man, that's weird. Anyway. Yeah, so Stinky's one. Mr. Featherly is in this episode.
Oh right. I didn't even think to scan Mr. Featherly.
Yeah, it doesn't work out. They just say like, "Oh, you can't."
Nope.
one of jumping ahead to the segment, maybe I'm robbing myself of a little segment juice here, but one of my favorite lines in the episode is when you try to scan the mariachis, and the mariachis say, or like it doesn't work, and in response to that, the mariachis say, "The mariachi can never have a birthday for himself. It's our curse. You can only sing for other people's birthdays." And that,
wow.
Yeah, that's rough. That's a rough life.
Yeah, they're very deep characters.
Did you check the credits of this episode? Did you watch the credits?
No, I should have. I was going to, but I was so distracted.
So there was one particularly interesting credit on this episode. I didn't get the name of the person, unfortunately. But in the music section, one person was credited as mariachi consultant.
Oh.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's just like the music, just trying to get the music sounding right, or maybe a cultural consultant for mariachi culture.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
I was going to ask how you felt about the mariachis.
I think that they are sometimes done well.
Okay.
So I'm out of my depth. Here's what I can say. It seems very much like a thing that you could easily have a problem with. I think they are voiced by a white guy, which is rough.
I think it might be Roger L. Jackson, who is he also play. I could be wrong, but it sounded like Roger L. Jackson. He plays Grandpa Stinky in this. He's also Mojo Jojo in the Powerpuff Girls, etc., etc.
Yeah, that's a little rough, just from a representation in voice acting thing. But that's also not particularly uncommon. We've had this conversation about Bosco. My same feelings apply to the mariachi as they do to Bosco. Everything else in the episode, there's no making fun of mariachis.
No, the mariachis they're presented as good characters. Like they tell you like outright, like, look, we don't want to do that. This is just a job. We're not bad people.
Yeah, I think
we just want to tell people happy birthday and make them happy.
The Hugh Bliss stuff in the last season, especially on that last episode, did rub me quite a wrong way with just the narrative being that he's trying to sort of spread his personality, and his personality is a thinly veiled disguise for homosexuality as he is written. And he's trying to, like, the episode presents this as this virus, which I think is very bad. I don't know how intentional it is. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say it's not. Yeah. But it's something that a sensitivity consultant could have just come in and said, like, hey, actually, I don't think you've thought about how this comes out. And then they could have said,
maybe you rewrite this a little bit.
Yeah, maybe that's really actually very bad. I think with the mariachis, there's only one joke in the episode that I think is actually offensive, potentially, which is that they keep talking about the aliens that own the spaceship, and then the aliens are illegal aliens. And that's sort of the joke of why they are mariachis, because of the dual meaning of the word alien. People don't really like to be described that way, so that's probably like the one, that is the crux of why they are mariachis. But that is just like the one bad thing. The people themselves, they're kind of villains, but they are also very sympathetic.
They're reluctant villain. They're kind of villains, but they don't want to be. They just happen to be in this instance, so they can be happy.
Yeah, they've in this episode, they sort of tipped their hand about what the whole cohesive plot of season 2 is all about, which is these mariachis are doing 2 jobs throughout time and space. They are going from place to place. The thing they want to do is just sing happy birthday from everyone, because they're from I think the 3100s or something. I don't remember if we hear it, but like it's from way far in the future. And no one really celebrates birthdays anymore in the future. They only care about robots and Martian invaders, as described in their song that they sing. They have a great song, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's the thing they want to do. They want to go use a time machine to go back to when people cared about birthdays and sing them happy birthday. Because that's what mariachis do, apparently.
Well, it's what this one mariachi wants to do. I totally forgot that all 3 of these mariachis are just the same guy from different time periods.
Yeah. I guess it's only what one of them wants to do. 2 of them seem at least sort of into it. There is one of them that doesn't want to be there anymore. which is the middle one, so that's interesting how that works out.
He wants to go solo.
Yeah, he liked birthdays in his youth, and then didn't care, and then got way back into him later on in his old age.
What? You can see the character development from this one guy.
Yeah.
Just in this one, you get this guy's whole story.
Yeah. The other job that they have is picking up the souls of the damned and annoying them into submission using the Moai heads from Rapa Nui, and just breaking their spirits until they can send the souls through a portal. One of the Bermuda Triangles is just in the ship for some reason. And they don't know where they go. They've just been told by their new boss, hey, if you give me these souls, send them through the portal, I will pay for your spaceship time machine. So we don't know who their boss is yet. We don't know why they want souls. Even the mariachis, they allude to not knowing in the song. They say, where they go, we don't know, but it's hot. Maybe it's Ensenada. It's probably not Ensenada.
Probably not.
And that's their whole scheme. That's what's brought the season together so far. We see Jurgen from last episode just be demoralized as a spirit and then sent through the portal. I don't understand why Jurgen has a soul. Because he's undead. Shouldn't that be like, you don't have... Is that not what undead should mean?
Maybe vampires are different from, like, zombies.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't either. So now that all the cards are laid on the table, except, of course, who is asking for these souls, what do you think of the season-wide narrative that's going on here?
I like that this episode kind of brings all these elements together. It does kind of leave it vague still, because you don't know what's going on. You don't know why this is all happening. But I feel like it fits them all together pretty nicely. They have the Bermuda Triangle as the portal. They have the Moai heads. They have... It tells you what's been going on with the souls from the last episode. And it leaves you wanting to know what's through that portal. What is the crux of this whole story? Yeah.
It definitely sets up anticipation for the next episode more than any other episode this season. Every episode this season has felt very standalone.
Mm-hmm. I will say, though, I liked that this episode continues right off from the last episode. Like, it's still like a totally different story, but you can feel the serialization kind of coming more into play. Like, this happens right after the last episode. It picks up where you left off.
Well, they all
feels
do,
like
don't they?
Events kinda
this season, because in the beginning of Moai Better Blues, they just drive back from the North Pole, like right then. And I don't remember the very beginning chronologically of the last episode, but I thought it had something to do with Moai Better Blues and coming back from Easter Island as well.
It seemed like they had been back. Max was just bathing in his ceremonial bath.
Oh, okay.
I don't think... But, I mean, I guess it's not that crazy. Just because the last episode ends with Flint Paper coming in and is like, hey, Bosco's been kidnapped. And then it just leads right into this next episode. There really aren't many ties with the last episode. But because they did that in the last episode, it still feels like a story that... I don't know, it just feels like the serialized elements are a little more obvious, a little more upfront, I guess.
Yeah.
Because even though in episode 2 they just came back from the North Pole, that doesn't, like, mean anything, really. Nothing from the last episode plays into this. And, you know, that's still kind of the case here, but it's still, like... I don't know, I'm just trying to justify my what I said without looking like a big dum-dum head.
No, that's cool. I like that you said it.
Thank you.
Well, we're definitely going to see that again in the next episode, because this episode ends with Sam and Max poorly trying to save Bosco from his soul being sucked into the Bermuda Triangle. They actually accidentally expedite the process. And
Whoops.
Then Sam, Max, and Bosco's corpse all go into the triangle. And that's where the episode ends. And we'll get a follow-up to that in episode 205 of Beyond Time and Space. What's New, Beelzebub? I think it's hard to know if we... It's hard to know if I would have figured out what next episode is going to be about, because I've just known what it is for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to put myself in the headspace of trying to figure out, like, what is the next episode about.
Max does mention, he has a line at the end where he's like, he says something about seeing Sam in hell. So, but that could, at the time it could be seen as just an offhand comment, but it could be seen as, like, foreshadowing. Oh, okay, I guess that's where they're going next.
Yeah. But, like, there's so much other stuff about the next episode that is also foreshadowed in much more subtle ways, but I just don't remember. Yeah. I don't know if I would have figured it out. I don't know. It's been too long.
Yeah, I don't think I would have, but by the time I played it, I think episode 5 was out, so I didn't need to figure it out.
We've sort of jumped around everywhere in the episode in the process in describing it.
We did the last part first.
Maybe that's okay. I don't think we got to describe all of these episodes. This episode's
about... Yeah, it's all about time travel. They were jumping around all over the place in this episode.
We don't need to describe the plot details point by point for you. You get it.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
You'll play it on your own, maybe, or not.
I feel like this episode in particular will look great in the remaster. Especially places like Stinky's Diner. Because even just from Season 2 to Season 3, Stinky's Diner looks way better in Season 3 with, like, better lighting. It's crazy. So I wonder if they're going to do some crazy stuff with it when this remaster's out.
Yeah, I want to see, like, bad fluorescent lighting in Stinky's Diner. And most of it's dark, like, right beside the lights.
Bosco's store with all the red lights will look great.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
How do you feel?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask how you felt about the ship AI and how you can change its personality.
I think
what one you settled with.
It's underutilized. So as soon as I found out I could do that, I set it to the first one is called politically correct, which is just a robot that doesn't have much of a personality at all. And then I switched it to suggestive, so it would always be flirting with me. And I kept it on that for a while. I felt like that was pretty good.
Just felt good. Just felt good to be flattered.
Yeah, what did you set it to?
I had it set on passive-aggressive for most of the time.
Yeah, passive-aggressive is good too.
I just felt like it was the funniest of them. But weirdly enough, the only one that comes into play for a puzzle is...
abusive.
Abusive, yeah.
Yeah, so you can change the AI's personality and then you put it in Bluster Blaster. By the way, you told me last week that it was Buster Blaster. It is not. It's Bluster Blaster.
Yes, you have fallen for one of Dustin's many jovial pranks. One of his... I'm such a trickster.
Did you know that the etymology of the word jovial comes from Jove, which is the name of Zeus in early Latin?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can
no, of course
the
I didn't
AI
know that.
in Buster Blaster, and then he starts being real mean to little young baby Max, who's playing the game at the time, which makes him stop wanting to play, which makes him into girls because he chooses to go to the prom that day instead of playing the game.
Yeah, it's the only way you can get Ms. Bosco to not be into Max, because she likes that Max is not interested. She's not interested in these guys who come up to her and are all over her. She wants Max when he shows no interest.
Yeah, she's got a self-destructive personality with that. How she only wants guys who don't want her.
It's weird because like there's that she's interested in Max who's not interested in her, but she's also not interested in guys who are like all over her. She's like, oh, these stupid guys, they're so weak.
Yeah. Well,
so it's kind of a double-edged sword.
She'll never find anyone that way. She'll never
she
find
doesn't
anyone
have
that
to.
way.
Yeah,
I guess
she doesn't have
to. Yeah. She built a machine for it.
Yeah, she didn't have any interest to begin with, and you just made it so that's how it is.
Dustin, which one is your favorite place to go in this episode? What's your favorite time period?
Oh, favorite time period. That's tough. I didn't think... Is this the new segment? Favorite time period?
It's a one-episode segment.
Wow. You folks listening to this are very lucky to experience this. I think... I like the future with future Max and Sam.
Okay, I feel like the same way.
You get some really good laughs from that time period.
Future Sam has Alzheimer's pretty bad. And
yeah.
all he can say are just some of the excuses for not being able to use one item with another item. He's just in his old age saying, I can't shoot Sam.
Look, Alzheimer's is no laughing matter, but in this case, it's a hysterical laughing matter.
I guess.
I think old Sam only saying old adventure game terms is so funny, and you get lots of good lines. And Sam doesn't seem too perturbed by it. He's just like, oh, well, okay. That's just the way things go.
Yeah, my favorite is Stinky's Diner, I think.
Nice. That was my second choice. I was thinking about which one to say, but Stinky's Diner is very good as well.
Yeah, it comes with the reveal that Sam invented Bluster Blaster, which is a Star Wars reference to how not talked about it was that Darth Vader invented C-3PO for the entire original trilogy, and then you get to see some prequel stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, I did this. It just never came up later. We just never wanted to talk about it.
Just didn't seem relevant.
Yeah. And there's another Star Wars reference in that exact same character in that same location, which is when Max finally decides he wants to go to the prom, Sam talks about how he was going to go down to the mall and get some power converters. A classic Star Wars reference.
From Star Wars.
Yeah, from Star Wars. How Luke was going to go down to Tosche Station and get some power converters.
Wow.
In that voice. Power converters are just the thing, like the little brick that you plug into the wall that the cord comes out of. It's not very Star Warsy.
They sure make it sound futuristic and cool.
Yeah, Tosche Station sounds futuristic, but he's just gonna go there and buy some USB cables.
It's just like a Circuit City down the street.
Not the first time that Sam has aped Star Wars.
What was the first one? I don't remember.
In Sam and Max Hit the Road, Sam reconfigures the robot vacuum to have a hologram projected from it, with Princess Leia saying, "Help me, Sam and Max, you're my only hope."
Right, that's right.
Yeah, at the time it made sense because it was a LucasArts game, so they were sort of poking fun at themselves. And then once you do it, Max says that was a little excessive. that was maybe too much advertising, even for us. Which I thought was funny.
Sam is very mean to his past self.
Yeah.
There's one part where his younger self is, he's talking about this technological mumbo jumbo, and older Sam just interrupts him and says, "Can the dork lingo, Chubbs."
Yeah, that's great. So one thing I really respect about Telltale's Sam and Max series is how unwilling it is to restore a status quo. Like, it'll break the entire street and then just leave a giant monster there for the entire rest of canon.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I liked about here is you need to make you need to make Max like girls in order to turn off Mama Bosco. But that does not get switched around. So
that's just Max's character now.
Yeah, Max went from being potentially gay to now in canon liking girls because he played less video games. That's a whole bucket of worms. I don't even know how to start putting on the hook. That's a lot of things to talk about. But that is something that this game does a lot, which is just hey, no, we're changing this like forever. Like we're changing a very previously integral part of this character's personality, and it's just going to stay that way.
Does it come up in any future episodes? I don't remember.
I don't recall, but I bet it does. I bet it does somewhere, maybe next episode even.
We'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing if they stuck to their guns or not.
Yeah. Other things that we find out in this episode that are significant. Bosco had 6 items behind his counter the whole time during season 1 that could have instantly solved any of the episodes in season 1.
Well, we knew about that in the last episode of season 1, but you see him in this episode.
That's true. That's attention to detail.
Yeah, in the last episode of season 1, when you do your little, do you have any, and then you ask him, it's like, do you have any recording contracts? And he'll say yes to all of them for every one of the past episodes.
Yeah, I wrote them down here. We have a filled out alternate personality disorder form, which would have just gotten you into the theater in episode 1. You've got a tape of a chicken eating manure, which would have been great for Midtown Cowboys.
That's what it was.
You've got a meatball GPS system where you can just instantly locate meatballs. You've got a sign that says, "Don't vote for me," which would have helped because you just give Abraham Lincoln the signs in episode 4. You have cheat codes for Reality 2.0, which is weird that there weren't any cheat codes in the actual Reality 2.0. That would be fun to have.
Maybe it just would have been too much with the altering space
Yeah.
with the cops in that episode.
I guess those are presented as glitches rather than cheat codes, which are sort of the new cheat codes. Video games don't often have cheat codes anymore.
I miss cheat codes. They were fun.
Yeah, you could make entire books about them. People sold books about cheat codes.
I
At the store.
remember Tips and Tricks magazine back when I was a wee tyke. I looked in the back of that thing. I guess that's another kind of design flaw when you can just go into the store and look up the codes in the back without buying the magazine. But
yeah, I mean, that's every magazine, though.
Yeah. I got the cheats for Sonic 2. I was a big Sonic 2 guy at the time, and I got the level select cheat, debug menu, or debug code cheat, and just all of those cheats, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I could just do all this?
I'm looking at my my shelf right now, and I have a Brady Games Secret Codes 2003 book.
Wow.
Do you want to? Okay, I'm gonna get it. Hang on.
Okay. That was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's 18 years ago. I've got this book that I had at the time. For it, the cover says PlayStation, PlayStation 2, Game Boy Advance, Xbox, and GameCube. What kind of game from around 2003 or before, like 5 years before, do you want me to look up for you right now in this book?
Wow. That that's a lot. Even by that era, I don't think I was like really looking up cheat codes that much.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of more like Super Nintendo Genesis era where I was like, oh, cheat code's awesome. I don't know. I have so many options. I can't think of any. I'm paralyzed with choicing anxiety.
Okay, well, let me see what we got. We got
Okay.
We've got SSX Tricky for the GameCube.
That's a good one.
Unlock everything. At the main menu, hold L and R and press A, B, Z, X, Y, Z, B, Y, Z, X, A, Z. Then release L and R, and you'll unlock everything.
Wow, you could just do... That would be so useful for games these days. Like, in Smash Ultimate, you had to unlock every character.
Yeah.
Imagine just having a code, and maybe you could have something like that where you're like, maybe it doesn't save it, but you can put in the code.
Yeah.
And you'll just have everything if you just want to do like a tournament or something.
They should have done that. 4 tournaments. That would have been great. Scooby-Doo, Night of 100 Frights.
I remember that one.
All power-ups. Pause the game, hold L and R, and press X, B, X, B, X, B 3 times, X, X, B, X 3 times, and release L and R, and you'll get all power-ups.
You know what's great? Since cheat magazines like this don't exist anymore, this podcast is your one-stop shop for Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights cheat codes.
Yeah, for those 2 games. And that's it.
Yeah, you want all the power-ups? Don't worry, we got you.
Yeah, Rayman Arena for PlayStation 2. All skins, enter Carnival. All battle levels, enter All Fish.
All fish.
Old TV screen effect, enter Old TV.
I'm a massive, massive Rayman fan, but that's like the one I haven't played.
I feel like it's the one a lot of people haven't played. Sorry, so this was a diversion. But the sixth and final item that Bosco had behind the counter was a jar of pickles. And I don't exactly remember what's up with that.
I don't either.
So it would be for Bright Side of the Moon. Was Mr. Featherly doing something with getting stuff out of the hat? Was there pickles involved with that?
I don't remember. Was that the like talisman for it? Maybe it's been a while.
Maybe,
but something.
It
about
hasn't been a
pickles
while.
Sounds
It
right.
has not been a while.
It's been a while since I thought about it.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, also not true. It's really been a very small amount of time, but I feel that that leech of time from my memory as well. A lot of stuff's just leaving the head almost immediately after we record the podcast.
Yeah, once you talk about it on the podcast, you can just forget all of it.
Okay, another big reveal in this episode is that Bosco's dad is JFK.
That's true. What a bizarre thing.
What a twist. He doesn't look much like JFK.
Yeah.
At all. In any way.
Which is weird because when you get Superball's DNA, when you get his saliva, for those listening, Bosco is a test tube baby, so there's Ms. Bosco has a machine for it, and it has her DNA in one slot, and you can put DNA of anyone else. Well, anyone else you can get DNA from, which is just like two people, in that spot, in that other spot. And if you put Superball's saliva in that spot, Bosco becomes like a Superball Bosco.
Yeah, he's very polite and well-spoken, but also sort of still looks like Bosco.
Yeah. They probably could have just kept him like that and it would have been fine, but they wanted the real Bosco, so... Yeah, it turns out you get the saliva of the president from a letter, from an envelope that's in Stinky's diner. And you put that in, and it turns Bosco back to normal.
Yeah. I don't know what the implications of that are.
Me neither.
I guess it means that he's half black and half white, which I don't really... No, I don't know what it means. I don't think it means anything.
Yeah. Just a fun little joke, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a fun little joke. Let's see, is there anything else? I'm looking at my notes. In Bosco's store, he has a theory of everything that looks sort of like the master plan that you see for Hugh Bliss's takeover at the end of season 1. It's just a poster. Mm-hmm. But Bosco's theory of everything is a much messier, mostly incorrect collection of connections drawn between two non-connected things.
And he has Hugh Bliss's master plan on there too.
Yeah. Some of my favorites, I looked at that wall for a long time. Some of my favorite things on here are all of the connections drawn between Bessie the cow from Midtown Cowboys.
Yeah, I saw Bessie connected to the soda poppers.
Yeah, Bessie is connected to the soda poppers with a line that says the word Baltimore. As in, are they both from Baltimore? Like, I don't know. and then the word truth is pointing to a connection between Bessie equals Myra. So Myra just is Bessie the cow. That's the truth.
That's not true, though.
Yeah,
Myra
untrue.
had Bessie on her show.
Yeah, that's actually untrue. I understand how you can get truth and untruth confused like that. There's another little notepad. This one's my favorite. There's a little note on the wall that says 1040 minus 540 equals 500, and then it has a bunch of exclamation points after it. Like he just figured it out. The big secret. Just some arbitrary numbers subtracted from each other is another arbitrary number.
It all comes together.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with this episode?
This is the one episode where you don't go to the street at all. There's you go to old Stinky's Diner, but you don't go to new Stinky's Diner. You don't see Sybil at all in this episode. You're never walking. You're never outside.
You're never outside.
You're always inside, which ties into what you were saying earlier about it feeling claustrophobic.
That might be it. Just the fact that you never go outside in this episode, you never are outside of a building or ship. That actually
feel
makes
like
it feel
works.
smaller.
Yeah, I feel like it works for this one episode just because... I guess just because it is so weird, just because you're doing all this time hopping everywhere. You're on this spaceship. I don't know. I feel like the claustrophobic feeling kind of lends to that feeling of being unnerved.
Yeah, I agree.
You have Cal Bosco.
Cal Bosco.
I have in my notes, Cal Bosco is a striking visual.
Well, it is, but it also sort of shouldn't be, because Max comments on at the time that, Sam is also an animal-human hybrid in the same way that Cal Bosco is.
I don't know if I'd say in the same way.
I guess it's not the same way because Sam's head is a dog's head and body is mostly a man's body, which is the inverse. But the amount of each is similar to Cal Bosco.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess it just works a little better the way Sam and Max do it.
Yeah, well, Max is more of a regular. Well, I guess he's not a rabbit in the way that
I was gonna
rabbits
say,
actually
I don't know.
look. Yeah. One big thing that we forgot to talk about. When they show up in the WARP studios again, which shows up again.
Oh, right. How could we forget?
Right at the end of that episode, they meet their past self from a year and a half ago. And then their past selves steal the elevator. And the Sam and Max that we've been playing as have to relive their past year and a half.
They had to do all of season 1 after that point all over again. And all of season 2 up to that point all over again.
Yeah, that's 7 episodes.
Imagine if we had to replay 7 episodes of Sam and Max.
Can you imagine a worse hell? We've been replaying a lot of episodes of Sam and Max. We've replayed 10 so far, actually.
That's true.
We also find out that THEM stands for the Temporal Headquarters of Enlightened Mariachis. It's a good acronym.
Yeah, I can honestly say I would not have guessed that had I not known about the mariachis.
I would not describe these mariachis as enlightened. They don't seem to know what they're doing.
Well, maybe they're enlightened in a grander sense. They are enlightened in that they know how to be happy, which is to wish people happy birthday.
Did somebody say birthday?
Yes, I just did.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we can, if you want, head right into our segments.
I think that's a fair thing to do. I think that covers everything I had in my notes. Oh, no, one thing I had was, when you meet Mr. Featherly at the beginning of the creation of the universe, he mentions how they were recording a Midtown Cowboys movie that Sam and Max just weren't involved with at all.
Yeah. And for some reason, he needed to study the beginning of the universe in order to get ready for his role.
What was that movie going to be about?
Why was he going to play the Singularity? Why?
In Midtown Cowboys.
He's already got a role in Midtown Cowboys. He should be content.
Yeah. He's already making thousands of dollars from posters.
I wonder if it's ever actually happened that a show with only one episode has gotten a movie.
I would guess not, but I've never looked into it.
I wonder if a failed pilot has ever become a movie in a notable way.
You know what? Actually, kind of.
Okay.
Now that I think about it. Because, this wasn't a theatrical movie, but... So, Adult Swim, way back in the day, they had a pilot called That Crooked Sip. And this was 2007, 2008, I think. And it didn't go to series. They had one 11-minute pilot for it. And instead of doing a show on it, they made a movie based on it afterwards. So
okay.
not on that grand a scale, but it technically did happen.
Yeah, okay, so I'm trying to think if anything else happened. Firefly is similar. It only got 13 episodes and then it got a movie. But that's still 13 episodes. It's not one.
That's still pretty impressive, though. Just one season and then you get a movie.
I would not be surprised if Jimmy Neutron did that. If there was a pilot before they made the movie Jimmy Neutron.
I think, but I don't think the pilot ever aired. I think it was just they took it to Nick, and then Nick did a movie first before the series. There's a podcast interview with the creator of Jimmy Neutron on the Nickelodeon Animation Podcast. I'll have to listen to that again. I think he talks about it.
It's just called the Nickelodeon Animation Podcast?
Yeah. It was a few years ago. They did like 3 seasons of it, I think, and you can just find it on whatever podcast. They just interview a bunch of creators, animators, voice artists.
That sounds cool. Listen to it after this, though.
Yeah, don't
you stop
clicked out of this
for anything.
We still have a few more words to say.
Yeah. Such as linguistic gymnastics. It's time. Dustin, I want to go first.
You go first, because last time I had 2 that were the same as yours.
Okay. Flint Paper, in trying to express his desperation about how he can't find Bosco, explains that the trail has dried up like a hobo's inner thigh. A terrifying visual.
Very dry, I guess.
When they first, at the very beginning of the episode, Sam, Max, and Flint Paper break into Bosco's, and they say that we need to use every detective skill we know to find Bosco. And then they just aimlessly start shooting everything. And then they say, I guess that didn't work. That's good. That's a good joke.
Yeah.
Mama Bosco is explaining her need to make a baby-making machine. She says how she doesn't need a man. And then she says, they can talk about putting a person on the moon, and I can make a baby-making machine. I like the phrasing on they can talk about putting a person on the moon, because it's not 1969 yet. It's close.
It's only been discussed.
It's only been discussed, but the discussions are getting somewhere. And this one's my favorite one of the episode. They show up at Stinky's in 1980, and Max says, Stinky, are we glad to see you? And Stinky says, why? And then they sort of both look at each other and they don't have an answer. And then Sam says, still, it's a new person to talk to. I thought that was pretty good. And let's see, do I have anything? Okay, so this is not a funny line or anything. I just thought it was powerful. How when the mariachis come to the 1960s to play their happy birthday song for Super Bowl, Super Bowl tells them, gracias, senors. This has been the best birthday ever. And that made me feel very sad for Super Bowl.
I had that written down too.
Sorry.
That's all it took to give him a happy birthday.
What are yours?
Okay, so let me check. I thought this episode was very funny. I had a lot of lines written down. Where's my first one? Give me a second. Oh, okay. So my first one is when you go in the bathroom in, I think it's in the 60s, or maybe it was in Bosco's normal store. Sam says, why did we come in here again? Max says, I just assumed you had to go number 1. And Sam says, nah, I save it all up between cases.
That is good.
One exchange I really like is when you're in the bathroom the first time and you find the wine. Sam opens it and he says, some idiot took the cork out, Max. It's turned to vinegar. But then when you go into the past in the 60s, you find a bottle of vinegar and Max says, some idiot left the cork in. It's still wine. I I liked a lot of Elderly Sam's adventure lines, like stuff like, I can't shoot Max. And, nah, I don't want to keep these shoestrings. And, it's lint from my pocket. This'll be useful later. I got a really good laugh from future Max. When you're done talking to him and you say goodbye, Max says, so long, that's how we say goodbye in the future.
That's good. That's a Dustin joke for sure.
I have another one that's a very Dustin joke. Like, along those same lines. I'll just do two more.
Okay.
Also, when you're in the future, so you need to find out the secret ingredient for the tar cake, and you find it by looking at the poster. In the future, Stinky's tar cake has revolutionized everything. It's a super powerful adhesive that keeps everything together in the future. So Stinky is very famous. There's a flyer in their office that just tells you what the secret ingredient is. And Max says, it can't be all that secret if it's on a poster. And Sam says, maybe secrets are different in the future.
Ooh. That's thoughtful.
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, it's good.
Just so blunt, maybe secrets are different.
Got any more?
Yes, my last one is when you scan Grandpa Stinky and it doesn't work. We kind of alluded to this earlier. I'm so glad you didn't say the line. Sam says, weird, it doesn't work on him for some incomprehensible reason we don't care enough about to pursue further.
Yeah. Sam, in this episode, both through the one you control and future Sam, really lean hard into the incidental phrases that you have to say as an adventure game protagonist.
I love past Sam saying it too when he's just walking around the ship like, it's the ancient charred remains of an Egyptian mummy.
Yeah.
or like, that's Max.
If you go back to the ship and you interact with one of the displays from the technology they have, Sam says, there's either a giant fire in the lower pulsar combustor, or I don't know how to read this thing at all.
That's a good... This episode's so good. It's just so interesting. It has so many good lines. I feel like... I said it earlier, but up to this point, this is my favorite episode. It just has so much going for it.
I think I still might like Ice Station Santa more than this.
That's fair, too. Like I said with my Zelda comparison earlier, I think Ice Station Santa is a better example of, like, your typical Sam and Max. Like, what you expect from Sam and Max. This one kind of goes off the beaten path a little bit.
Yeah, this one gets meta with it. This one is an episode about itself as a series, which becomes the default of what Telltale does with Sam and Max pretty much from every episode now on, including next episode and every episode in Season 3. It gets very introspective on, like, what does it mean to be an episode of Sam and Max? Why be Sam and Max? What does Sam and Max do?
A question we ask ourselves every day.
Yeah, I'm just lying in the tub, thinking to myself,
what does it mean to be Sam and Max?
What do be Sam and Max, though? How about your potent pickup? What's your potent pickup?
I had to go with the carbon dater.
Yeah, it's the carbon dater for sure.
Yeah. It's just, you know, the whole crux of the whole episode, and you can just scan so many people. It felt good scanning a character and getting a card from it. It's like, yes, now I can go here. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's obvious, like, even though that's the whole thing you're supposed to do, it just felt good when you're like, now I can go to the 60s. Now I can go to Sam and Max's office. Wow.
Yeah, that's definitely mine too. It can't really be anything else. It's too good.
Yeah, but my runner-up, since that one is just so obvious, my runner-up is Mr. Featherly.
Mr. Featherly as an object is another great thing.
Yeah, I know he was your unguy of the week last week, but I feel like as an inventory item, he works a lot better.
As a resident of the beginning of the universe and just being as confused about it as you are, he's a lot better than he was last week.
He really stepped it up, unlike Lincoln.
Yeah. Speaking of, who's your guy of the week?
So, I'll let you go first for guy of the week, since we kind of alternated these last two segments.
This one was really hard for me.
I agree.
But I ended up going with Old Pedro.
That is a very good pick.
He's the only mariachi of the three versions of Pedro that I like, but Old Pedro, he talks about how he needs to stay on the ship to do the songs and everything that he likes to do, but also mostly because he needs to fix the printer to make an old man feel useful, which is a very sad line.
Yeah, it makes you feel for him. Pedro is great.
Yeah, he's great. He has a great song. He has goals in his life that he wants to accomplish, and he does it, and doggone it, I'm happy for him.
Yeah, it's great. I really like that you see all the different versions of him in the past, and like you said earlier, you kind of see his life go to different places. He becomes a solo mariachi act for a while, but then later in life he comes back to help his past selves when he's older. It's crazy.
A solo mariachi act is not good.
Wait, no. He says mariachi songs are so over. Now he's going to write songs about trains.
That's true. Now a solo song about a train, that's what's up.
Yeah, now you got something.
Now you're cooking with gas. Oh, I actually had that line written down. I forgot to say, mariachi music is old news. I'm going to sing songs about trains. That's a good one.
He's got that passion.
So who's your guy?
I think my guy of the week, it is very hard. I feel like everyone this week just really brought it. Everyone was funny. Everyone had a good reason to be there.
A good team effort.
I think I'm gonna give it to Mama Bosco, but with an asterisk in that it's partly because of her role in the future of Sam and Max.
Okay.
But I thought she was a fun character in this episode. I thought her voice performance was very well done. Her design is cool. And then in second place, I have Old Sam and Max.
Old Sam and Max are very good.
Yes, they're just very funny. I didn't realize it. I said it earlier, but I never realized while playing this game just how many versions of Sam and Max there are. There's the Sam and Max we control. There's Old Sam and Max. There's Young Sam and Max. There's Sam and Max from Season 1. That's 4 sets of Sam and Max in this episode.
It's a lot of Sams and Mac.
Yeah. Yeah, very strong episode. It was very hard to pick a guy of the week. And I don't have any unguys of the week.
Yeah, I think if I were to unguy the week something, it would just be the person that is maybe bringing the least amount to the table, but they're still fine. It might be the other two versions of Pedro, actually. Pedro might bookend my guy of the week spectrum.
That's interesting. I like that both guys of the week are Pedro.
Yeah.
It's the same guy. I can see that. The other two don't really do much. You just have to give one the, well, no, I really like the one who's listening because, you trick him, because he keeps listening for birthday. He's listening for someone, saying birthdays so he can time travel and sing to him. But Sam and Max start messing with him, but he's a champ about it. He's entertained by it. Like, they're like, say, Max, what is the, is it the 22nd of April that's Earth Day?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, what's the 22nd of April? Well, Sam, I believe that's Earth Day. And he says, did someone say, oh, you guys, you tricksters.
Yeah, they do it with Perth Day, Colin Firth Day.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that this Pedro is he's okay with the jokes. He's like, all right.
Yeah, he's not too mad about it. He appreciates the humor.
It's really just the other one who has, but he has the line about trains. So
yeah, true. Yeah, I guess I don't have an un-guy, but maybe. What do we do? Do we force ourselves to pick an un-guy, or is there just no un-guy?
I think we don't have to do an un-guy. I mean, it's not a segment we had since the beginning of the show. We just started doing it when Lincoln started rubbing us the wrong way.
Oh, you know who I can easily throw an un-guy at and not feel bad about it is the Moai heads.
Oh, that's true. They don't really do anything.
Yeah, I kind of forgot for a moment that they showed up at all.
Yeah, I don't dislike them in this, but they don't bring anything. And if you have to throw a character under the bus, I guess they work.
Yeah, they're the ones to do. They're the ones to throw.
Yeah, stupid Moai heads.
Okay, well,
I like Moai heads actually. I like Moai heads a lot. Just not.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I felt like I
specifically
peer-pressured
these
you
ones.
into not liking them now.
No, these ones don't bring much to this episode. I'm just saying, in general, I like Moai heads.
Oh, okay. In general, I have one on my desk, actually. It's a small wooden
neat.
Moai head, but it's carved to fit my my glasses. If I put my glasses on them, it's like a glasses holder.
You should take a picture after and let me see. I want to see this Moai head.
I'll do that. I'll do that for you. I'll do that right now.
Thanks.
Because now is almost after. That's been the show, folks. Thanks for listening. That's been Sam and Max Beyond Time and Space, episode 204, Chariots of the Dogs. Next episode, we'll be checking out Sam and Max Beyond Time and Space, episode 205, What's New Beelzebub? And should we say what we're doing after that?
Let's save it for after we're done with that.
Okay.
We'll let the mystery kind of stew and build up for this next week.
Yeah. Actually, if anyone has a preference, let us know if you care. Like, are you playing along with us or are you just listening? Hit me up and tell me. I assume most aren't playing along, but I don't know. I would play along if I were listening to this podcast.
If I wasn't already playing them.
Yeah, if I was already not playing them, I would start doing it. And then I would not listen to the podcast because I'd have my fill already.
Yeah, I mean, we're not doing these like in any particular order. I mean, so far we've been kind of chronological, but not really, since we kind of jumped around a little bit. But if anyone listening has a game they're particularly interested in hearing us talk about, we don't have to play them in any particular order. If anyone's like, oh, I'm just dying for them to get to this one, I'd be fine with just going like totally out of order. Yeah,
there's a few titles that I do want to get to sooner than later, but other than that, we're pretty flexible. Yeah, I think at some point, this is not the next one we're doing, but at some point in the future, we should probably get The Walking Dead Season 1 in here in order to start talking about the progression of Telltale games as they went along into their old age.
Right. That's not a bad idea. I've been wanting to replay it myself.
I've never played it past episode 1.
I feel like it'll be an interesting one to do like linguistic gymnastics and weekly guys for, just because it's so different. Like, this Walking Dead is not a comedy-based game.
Yeah, I think that we'll probably have to make new segments, especially for the... well, we have been making new segments for all of the various things we've been doing so far. We'll keep linguistics gymnastics around as long as we can, but there's some Telltale games that definitely don't apply to that so much.
Yeah, I mean, Walking Dead still has some humor in it, so I feel like it might even be a good thing to have linguistic gymnastics around, just because it'll be more focused than it is with Sam and Max. Because with Sam and Max, we have like 4 or 5 lines each for like every episode. With Walking Dead, it might be a little easier to pick like 1 or 2 that we really like.
Sure, and I'm excited to finish this, not to get it over with or anything, but Sam and Max Season 2 has gone by so fast.
Yeah, we're already done with episode 4.
Yeah, we only have one more episode in the way.
Next week. Yeah.
Season 1 felt like an accomplishment, doing a whole podcast about all of the episodes in Season 1. And this has not felt that way. This is just zoomed by.
Yeah, I guess it was just because we were just starting. We were really getting used to it. It felt like we really pushed our way through that first season. But even if you include like the Bone episodes and Telltale Texas Hold'em and Sam and Max Season 2, for some reason, to me, it doesn't feel as long as all of Season 1 of Sam and Max did.
Yeah.
Even though it is more.
I guess that's just the fallacy of imagining how long your life is as you grow.
Yeah. I guess I hadn't thought of it like that.
Well, you know, like for a little kid, if you have to wait a week for something, that's basically like waiting a year for something when you're 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that makes me depressed. So, Dustin, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at AmazingDJDustin. I post all sorts of little, just little drawings here and there, little doodles, little scribbles. Mitch, where can they find you?
You can find me in that little empty box in your heart labeled at the Wolf FM. That's at symbol THEWOLFE FM on Twitter, where I tweet about nothing in particular. I should probably get more focused on there in order to build a brand, but I've not done that. I'm not built a brand.
That's okay.
I have a podcast. I have this podcast.
Yeah. I've heard of that one.
Yeah. Please do subscribe, by the way, if you're not subscribed or subscribed to the show. We are trying to put episodes out every week, and the more listeners we have, the more motivation we have to keep putting out episodes. Additionally, just storing the episodes is expensive, so please give us a reason to do it.
Yeah, just remember, if you don't listen to the podcast, this podcast's blood is on your hands.
That's so true, Dustin. Thank you for putting it that way. I've been searching for a way to convey that information to our audience. So, that being said, thank you for listening. See you later.
Goodbye.
Mariachi, ay, 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 ay. I come back from the future and pick up young versions of me. In our spaceship,